says, when you lose 80 pounds and them shirts, he says, here I am talking with these families, and it looks like somebody grabbed a hold of my neck. And he said how much money he had to spend on dress shirts because of how awful it was around his neck. He was like, oh, don't get me wrong. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Level Up Life, Muscle and Mindset Mastery. I'm your host, Adam. Got co-host Waz here and Jordan today. We got a special guest, Jessica Raymond from LIV1. Welcome.
Yes, thank you for having me.
So let's start off. You're a nurse practitioner. Mm-hmm. You have your own fitness journey. Mm-hmm. I know you have went through a body composition change yourself. Yes. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So from just a body composition standpoint, starting out, I was way overweight, like 230 pounds or so at my heaviest. At that point in my life, when I was 230 pounds, I had just had a baby. I was in a marriage I wasn't super happy with. I was working as a nurse practitioner at the time as well. And I didn't know anything about health and fitness. I remember wondering what the heck macros were. Like, I didn't know anything.
They don't teach you that in medical school in depth.
True,
right?
yeah, true. No, I wasn't taught any of that. And even like my family, like no one really worked out or did anything health-wise. So really seeing where I was at and understanding like super unhealthy, but what do I do? And really what coupled with that was working in like anywhere from working in the nursing home, working in emergency departments, working in the hospital setting. Like you see what happens if you don't take care of yourself. Mm-hmm. Like it's right up in front of you. Like we would see people like all the way from when they're born all the way until they die. I mean, you're holding their hand at their last breath and you're like, life is really fragile. And how do I not end up with dementia? How do I end up with a heart attack? And the way I was going with how heavy I was and how unhappy I was like, that was the path that I was going on. And so not knowing what to do, I mean, obviously I go to the gym. So I go to the gym and I just start walking on the treadmill and listening to motivational speeches. I mean, a lot of David Goggins, a lot of like Jocko, like all of that. Yeah. Like I didn't know what I was doing. I just started listening to everything walking on the treadmill. And then it went into like, there was someone at the gym asked me, do you want to be strong or do you want to just look strong? And I was like, I want to be strong. And so I went to more powerlifting. Didn't really have a coach very much, but I did more powerlifting. And then eventually I was like, oh, this is nice. I want to be strong and not skinny. And so started doing that. Did, I think it was like 2 or 3 powerlifting meets. And then I wanted to look like I lift and lifted like I look. So I went more kind of power building and really started focusing on my nutrition because I was getting strong, but I couldn't really see a change in my body. And then I started focusing in on like nutrition and protein and learned about macros and then was able to really change my physique and ended up eventually doing a bodybuilding competition in figure. And that was really fun. It was a whole, like all the way from powerlifting to bodybuilding.
So how long did this journey take? Like the I guess you could call it the progression from.
Yeah. It would be, I would say 7 years.
Yeah.
So it was really slow and steady. And it wasn't like, I didn't have something in mind. I just knew I wanted to improve. I needed to improve mentally and physically.
I feel like that's, people get into the gym, they make the decision to make a change and it's really challenging because they're so hyper-focused on that change that when it doesn't happen rapidly, they get discouraged. So like highlighting, it's like 7 years, like Jordan, you're 19, you've been lifting for 6-7 years,
probably 6, closer to 5 or 6. Yeah,
consistently,
right?
And you've been lifting since the 90s, right? So
about 17 years ish.
Yeah,
I mean, I think I was 32 when I first broke 200 pounds. Yeah. Trying to climb weight.
Yeah.
That's funny because I remember dropping less than 200 pounds and it was like that 199. I was like, oh, I'm making it. So yeah.
We all have those mile markers in our journey, right? Whether it's the scale weight, or benching 300, I know is a big deal.
Yeah.
Or 225 or squatting 300 or,
right.
those little mile markers that we
I know mine was
kick out of
deadlifting
nowhere.
315. I was like, I did it.
Yeah,
315. And I don't know if I could do it again for a little while, but I could. I know I could again.
Yeah.
So those milestones are great. And they show you that you can achieve things when you work towards them. It takes time. And that's why I always think like people that do work out and they have a good physique and they have good muscle mass. I mean, your body's your best business card. And so it shows discipline, it shows drive, it shows that you invest in yourself so you can take care of others. And I think it's the most important thing that anybody can do is invest in themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
And I love the finish line always moves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You never really attain it. I mean, we hit them little milestones, the 225 or running a mile, however, all that. But then it's what's next.
Yeah.
Right.
You hit it so fast and it's just that quick. Woohoo! Now what?
Yeah.
And
And
it's
then
always
Progressing.
moving.
the big picture, you want longevity, right? We all want to live longer. I mean, so I like to think about my lifestyle and those goals. When you develop those small habits, that's what carries you to 7 years or 17 years, or it's
Yeah.
those small daily habits.
Brick by brick.
But I like to think of it as, all right, my background. I was withdrawing from my bank of life with my
Right.
lifestyle. And I think about fast food, unhealthy habits as withdrawals. And then those healthy habits, like, oh, I exercised today, or I ate a healthy meal for lunch. That can be as simple as that are deposits into our future.
Right. Right. 100%. Just those little wins every day really compound on each other to really make a huge difference over time.
Yeah.
It's super, super important to do that. Anywhere from, like you said, you woke up when your alarm clock went off, even anything simple as that, all the way to, you didn't choose McDonald's for lunch. Like all those matter. Like I went through all of that. And it literally was like, I just went to the gym and started on the treadmill. Like I didn't have a plan, as you started there. And then what I have found too is like, if you don't tell people to like stop smoking and stop drinking, like instead of telling people stop doing stuff, if you just start encouraging and showing that you can make sure you are hitting 100 grams of protein per day, like everything else will fall into place. You can get very granular, but if you get your protein in, if you are, wake up and you have some gratitude at the end of the day, you look back and you see a positive, like if you just keep building all that in, the bad stuff kind of like goes away, like without even telling them to do that.
Yeah.
So you just kind of build in all the good, and the other like negative things for their life just kind of falls out. They are not even wanting to do that anymore.
Then you become more sensitive once you start adding in the good. You start seeing how your body's feeling better, and then we have clients that eliminate sugar, and they're like, I had no idea that I had all this inflammation.
Yeah.
From sugar.
I didn't know I could feel this good.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's my
I didn't
favorite.
know I felt
Yeah.
that bad. So
Yeah.
It's really cool to see people's habits change over time, but that's part of what we do, coach.
Yeah.
And like what you do. So explain concierge medicine. That's what you do, correct?
Yeah. So LIV1, from the concept of one mind, one body, one life. So concierge medicine is a way to help people take control of their own health in a structured way. And that means, like, if we're looking at just concierge, it's that they have direct access to me. They have direct access to a health coach. They have direct access to trainers, and they have direct access to knowledge and education on decisions that they can make on a daily life. So if they go on social media and they look at all these different things on there, like what do they eat, what do they not eat, what supplements should they take, and everything, like they have access directly to us. So that's part of that concierge medicine, and being able to go around insurance, because insurance is really the constraint on modern medicine of not allowing them to have the medicine they need or the testing that they need. So we're able to find those constraints and work around them and around insurance. So concierge medicine is cash pay, but we do try to utilize insurance if we are getting medication or something from the pharmacy and such. But concierge medicine or practice gives an opportunity for people to really unhinge any constraints that are holding them back that modern medicine doesn't allow them to do due to insurance.
Right. So insurance is part of one of the main players in our health system. I know for myself, I had an injury in softball, and just calling around, I called McLaren, and their MRIs were I think they said they had a cash, no insurance pay. It was like $1,000. But then if I had insurance, if I told them, well, I have insurance, thinking it would go down, and it went up to $2,000.
Yeah.
So my deductible, what my deductible was, I'm essentially being punished for having insurance. So then, I go to a different place in Flint, RMI. They're much
refer
more
to them all the time.
much more cost efficient, cost effective. And so I did a little research. Why is imaging so much higher in price at this facility versus this facility? And one is they do imaging only. So they don't have the overhead that hospitals have. And that's where a lot of that. So from what I gather, and maybe I'm wrong, the hospitals try to make up for other portions of the hospital that overhead in imaging or in other ways.
Yeah, I can see all that.
Which is basically unaffordable for people.
Right. And insurance also requires you to go through certain steps before you could get an MRI. They're like an X-ray or do physical therapy or things like that before you could go get that MRI done. And so having the access to be able to go around that and getting an MRI, you really save yourself a lot of time and potentially further injury and further disease progression by getting imaging done or blood work done sooner than you could through insurance.
Yeah, I have a stepson that's got a knee issue right now who his insurance won't pay for an MRI, but every time he goes to PT, it makes his knee hurt more.
Right.
They've had they jump through the X-ray hoop, then they go to PT, and it's hurting him more than it's helping, but they still won't MRI it. So it's like, what do you do?
Right. You have to go through the process. You have to work around it. Yeah.
Seems like a crock.
And modern medicine, I mean, is amazing. I mean, we can get injured and get a car accident. They'll save our lives like right away, but they're not, for the most part, they're not good for preventative care, preventative or health optimization standpoint wise. And that's not fully to blame like people in modern medicine. Like everyone goes into healthcare to help people. That is the goal. When you sign your application to go to nursing school, when you sign the application to go into like get your doctorate, you're probably going to stay on there like, I'm going into this because I want to help people. But when you get in there, you have to see so many people and there's so many constraints and there's so much documents and paperwork and everything that you do that you're very, very limited. I mean, the average amount of time that you can spend with a patient in like a primary care office is usually about 7 minutes across America. So like I can barely talk about protein in 7 minutes. So it's like, it's a constraint placed on them, usually by insurance, and it's hard for them to get around it. And then that's where like concierge medicine, the proactive healthcare really is exploding and giving people an opportunity to actually feel and perform at their best.
Yeah, so the proactive, that word, my dad died at a young age from he had a heart attack, right? So being able to be proactive, like getting tested, my grandpa died from polycythemia vera.
Polycythemia vera.
Yeah. And, being able to get tested for the genes, so it's something we can monitor, with my health, I would be thrilled to be able to do that type of stuff, because when we can prevent rather than repair, I think in general, you'd have a healthier population.
Oh, absolutely. And ASCVD is the #1 killer of people globally, and that's just stroke, heart attack, vascular disease. And about 90 to 95% of the risk factors are modifiable, meaning if you reduce your lifelong exposure to high cholesterol, high blood pressure, then you can reduce your risk of having an event. And if everything was perfect, would you actually gain more years? Potentially. If you had perfect cardiovascular health and everything else, you could gain a couple more years potentially. But more than that, you're gaining your health span. Like lifespan is different than health span. So the health span is, you can have a heart attack and you can be saved from that. And then you end up with heart failure and then you end up with debility and everything like that too. So you want to be able to help improve your overall health and your overall like heart health, so you don't experience those heart attacks and heart failure and strokes, because it's significantly debilitating. And to help improve that health span, you need to check your blood work. You need to check your, like doing the coronary calcium score or the CAT scan. looking at the coronary arteries to see if you have plaque built up, because you can implement different structures earlier on, so you're reducing your lifelong exposure to high cholesterol and high blood pressure. And I say this all the time, but you cannot live an optimal 60s, 70s, 80s if you are not, like, if you're just living at average in your 30s, 40s, and 50s. You have to do the best you possibly can, like, from those critical decades in your 30s, 40s, and 50s.
Now let's take a moment to thank our sponsors, Pine Haven Assisted Living. At Pine Haven Assisted Living, they believe in making every resident feel at home. Nestled in the peaceful countryside of Hemlock, Michigan, they offer compassionate care in a family-like environment where residents can enjoy independence with the support they need. Registered nurse-owned and operated, their team provides personalized care, home-cooked meals, and a range of activities to ensure your loved ones continue to live a fulfilling life. They also have alpacas and llamas on site to enrich the lives of their residents. Experience the warmth and comfort of Pine Haven. Call them today at 989-295-6632. That's 989-295-6632. Or you can visit them on their website at pinehavenassistedliving.com. That's pinehavenassistedliving.com for more information. Now, back to the Level Up Life. So, like Jordan being 19, your generation, his generation specifically, I feel like they're way more active.
Oh, yeah.
Than like us. When I mean, I was active, but in general, like just high school sports, I didn't see kids going to the gym as much on their own. You know, it was more of like, oh, we got for baseball, it's conditioning and weight training class, or I didn't see the people. I feel like the generation that's coming into adulthood in general, they're more health conscious. They make better decisions about their physical health. They make better nutritional decisions, which is preventative in itself. But for you, like, what do you think? How did you get to that point? And then to follow that up, I want to see, like, for people his age, why is it important to get those, you know, the blood work done, the biomarkers, find out all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I think being in sports through school, it was kind of an obvious step. If I want to get ahead, I should be in the gym. I should be eating properly, because you have to fuel properly. That's the biggest thing. And that's the thing that I see a lot of high school kids now that I would talk to interact, because I see them working through their sports, and I can point out, like, all right, it's great that you're here in the gym, but you're not eating right, you're not sleeping right, you're not hydrating properly. It's not going to matter, right? Like, check these boxes first. I think we are a lot more health conscious, because we've talked before, the wealth of information is out there, and people can now see that, learning from previous generations. But it's only for those that really choose it. It's so easy to be, like, if you're not at all involved in the world of sports or weightlifting, whatever, it's really easy to see that and, like, I'm not interested. Like, it's all available to see. There's nothing that's going to, like, you can choose that path or not. If you do, you're going to lead it down, and it's going to, like, you're going to be able to pursue it. You're going to be able to track, and long term, you're going to make progress. But it's also a lot easier now than ever to completely ignore that, I think. So, but no, definitely, like, the benefit for me, again, it was just about how do I get ahead of my sport? And then obviously realizing that it's much easier now to do what I'm doing for a long-term benefit versus coming back in 10 years or 20 years and trying to make the same adjustments then with the loss of time that I have. Also knowing that, like, if I'm setting myself up now, my body's already changing coming out of a big change, and then reinforcing that habit as I'm going through that, it's just going to be a lot easier to get in that mental space and build the habit now versus later on in my life. So,
For sure.
Yeah,
it's very important. There's a lot of people in their 20s that are getting their blood work done, and just kind of, and I've noticed that when I worked at my previous telehealth clinic, there's a lot of 20-year-olds that would come in and just get their blood work done. And it wasn't to like, let's just see my testosterone, which that was a big part of it, but also like, what else is going on in my blood work? How can I feel and perform my best? Because like they really knew if they wanted to feel their best long term, they needed to start now in their 20s. So I don't know if it's generational that kind of started that.
Yeah.
I think so. And then I really think it's the more access. It's easier than ever to get all that information. So, and that wasn't available in prior generations.
Right. I see a lot of that too. It's a much more common topic. Social media, obviously, that's where, obviously not the best place for information, but that's where you see the most of it.
Yeah.
And that's where most people spend their time. Nobody's really looking up the meta-analysis. Nobody's looking up the actual study.
Jordan is.
Here and there. You look at your social media to figure out what's the new trend and what is the science say now, right? And like I'm just as guilty of that. Obviously, like backing that up and going to check for yourself is what makes a difference. But people are very conscious of that, and it's also, I think that people in blood work, there's a lot of talk, like you mentioned, about testosterone, because a lot of people, and this has been, whether there's science to this or not, is over generations, testosterone naturally declining, and people see that out of a healthy range. And then the thought is, well, I can't seem to have this result or this result. Maybe I have unnaturally low testosterone for whatever reason, right? And I think people are just more conscious of that because there's a lot of talk around it. But I think that also it's because you're not doing everything else right that would, obviously, you know, if you're sleeping 2 hours a day and you're not eating at anything but Doritos, like, yeah, you're going to have a hit to your testosterone. Things aren't going to be working right. So,
yeah. And that's what I really liked about blood work too. And it really provides, like, I usually refer to it as like the inside advantage because you're able to look at the trends and the values and the relationships and patterns in blood work to kind of explain symptoms, explain what's going on, because they're going to want to jump on testosterone or, you know, they're going to get testosterone from somebody at the gym or whatever else. And so if I have the opportunity to talk with them and I can explain how maybe they have a thyroid issue and the thyroid's impacting their testosterone production, or maybe like we're talking about, they have cortisol issues. How can we help them lower down cortisol? Because the higher cortisol is going to mess with the gonadotropin releasing hormone from the hypothalamus, the pituitary, and you kind of start like talking with all that, you know, and or
Connecting
really
the dots.
connecting the dots, and like literally maybe they have normal testosterone, but they have low free testosterone. So then we talk about like SHBG. And so when you're able to kind of bring it all in, they're like, oh, maybe I don't need testosterone. Maybe actually they do need to sleep a little bit more.
And they probably hear sleep, food, this, and they're like, well, I don't understand how that's really going to affect it. But what you're doing is drawing that dot, like you said. Saying, well, it's not just because, oh, you didn't sleep, that means you're going to have low testosterone. It means it's affecting you here, and that's what's causing your issue. And then across the board, you can point those out. Like you said, it's really easy for people to, well, I don't really see that. It's probably not happening to me. Like when we are seeing it from ourselves, it's very easy to, I mean, we talked about like when Jimmy Green was on, you see people with cancer. And it's the same thing. It'll never be me. It'll never be me. It's that same perspective where even though we're doing some things wrong and we know that these are going to affect us, I'll probably be fine. It's not going to affect me.
Bliss, right?
Right.
Right.
So it's just like, no, like connect the dots. Like obviously it's proven, like you said, showing them that, opening their eyes to it is a big deal. So.
And really your own biology talks different to you than somebody else.
Right.
So you can go on social media and you'll see like, yes, I need to like sleep more and do all this other stuff. But when your own biology tells you, it just hits a little differently. And then you start saying, okay, so you started to sleep a little more. You start taking this basic supplementation, just the low hanging fruit that you can see in the labs, because you can only perform to the level of your constraints. So if we remove those constraints and you actually feel a little bit better, you're like, oh, I didn't need all that testosterone. Because then we talk about the testosterone, talk about like, what does it actually mean if you do actually take testosterone? How can we improve it naturally? You know, how do we do that? How can we, like, if you did need testosterone, like maybe someone had a concussion and their pituitary gland didn't send the gonadotropins to the testes to produce testosterone. Maybe that was actually the scenario. Or maybe they have a varicocele or have a testicular torsion. They actually really do have that. So let's talk about fertility and what we need to do to prepare for that. So it's really important, I think, for young men and women to get their blood work done early. It's important for young men and women to do like physical activity and build muscle during that time frame, because during those years too, you're also building bone mineral density, especially for females, because you start losing your bone mineral density around age 30. So when you are doing strength training specifically, you're building those osteoblasts in the bone to help build that muscle, and also, build the bone. But it's very important.
Peak at age 35, or is it different for men and women? I thought
it starts
bone mineral
declining
density.
at 30 for females,
30,
and probably a
okay.
little later for men.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I thought it was around 35. I had read for men, but that's again to the topic.
Females, yeah.
If you
See, I told you he's smart.
That's good. No, it's important. Yeah.
If you're just starting in the gym though at 30, and like 5-year span is, you can make a lot of progress. But if you've had 15 more years behind that to build that up, and then you reach that peak where now your body is kind of, and this is what we see. Like I've talked with my parents before too. They have a fitness journey of their own, and unfortunately, they didn't start it until they were past their age, and where it's a natural decline, and they see that, and now it's about fighting that. And they were still very, very active, like in their younger years. My dad played college soccer. Like he wasn't. It's not like they've been crippled their whole life. Like they're in good shape, but just going about your day to day, never really addressing it, it's going to catch up with you, and that's what they see. And so now I'm glad they're taking steps to get ahead of that. But if you start that sooner, it's so much easier, and almost to a point where you're going to feel that slow down at the end of your years, but you really never lose any time where you don't feel like you were at your best. You're performing, like you're always still striving. So that's like a goal for me going forward. Like I never want to have a year, obviously when I'm in the end of my life, things are going to naturally slow, but I want to always be tracking and progression. And that's something that you can't always control. There are other factors, but I think consistency with what you can control day to day is going to play into that. So
And that's those small habits.
right, exactly.
So the blood work too is you get a better window into the health, because there's people that can look like, in terms of general public, they see someone and they're like, they look really healthy, and their blood work can be trash. Where then you can have an overweight person who has phenomenal blood work. So
great cholesterol sometimes.
Looking beyond the physical appearance of people, the blood work gives you a better.
It definitely gives that inside look at everything.
Yeah.
And even like something like lipoprotein little a, it's like similar to like a genetic marker that tells me if you have more destructive LDL. LDL is the quote unquote bad cholesterol. But 1 in 4 to 5 people have a lipoprotein little a, and if it's elevated generally above 50, their LDL basically gets like an extra Velcro type coating placed around it in the liver, and it can cause more destruction to the arteries or the aortic valve. So if we knew that, like for you, like at 19, we would know definitely we don't want to smoke. Definitely we want to make sure we're doing our cardio, making sure we're taking our omega-3s, making sure we're keeping our blood pressures controlled, because we have a 2 to 4 times increased risk of stroke and heart attack if we have that in our blood work.
So then we can mitigate.
Yes, mitigating the risk of cardiovascular disease. And that starts as early as you possibly can. And the value of trending your blood work is seeing your patterns and building your own reference interval, because the reference intervals on the blood work is based on the general average population. And if you Google or ChatGPT the average American, they're overweight, have 2 chronic diseases, they have less than $2,000 in the bank, and then they're also on like the verge of divorce. So like you don't want to be in that average population.
Right.
So you look at more of an optimal ranges, optimal ranges based on data, based on research, based on like boots on the ground experience. And it's not just the blood work itself. Like I really, of course, enjoy blood work. I like doing the like in-body scans to look at the muscle mass, the body fat, and the visceral fat. The value also comes in the non-scale wins. So it kind of goes along with like the daily habits, because the number on the scale has always been like the prime target to look at, especially for females too, and I'm sure for men. But when you can add in like that value of like, you've gone to the gym the last 3 months and you haven't chosen like to go to a fast food restaurant 4 times a week. Yeah, you didn't lose a ton of weight yet, but look at your insulin levels. Like look at your cholesterol. Like how freaking cool is this? And it builds momentum. So that extra momentum moves them along and keeps them accountable, even on their own. And so then they kind of continue the plan. And so I think that's the biggest value.
Those milestones you don't see looking in the mirror.
Right.
And that's something like with weight loss too. People stress if they're building muscle during that about the scale.
Yeah.
And it's a visual thing that you're going to track. It's not, you're going to build muscle. We want to set you up for life doing that versus just losing weight. And that's shedding weight is not the goal for longevity. It's being a healthy body weight with the right proportion too.
Yeah.
And so those things are hard though. Those things take time to get to. And people just, a lot of times they're 1 to 2 months. I'm not seeing enough of this. My weight hasn't changed at all. I might look a little better, but there's really nothing long term. And then this steps in. It can really show you the progress you're making on a quicker basis, so you can get there.
Yeah.
The body scans are huge, and I encourage all my clients taking pictures.
Yeah.
Because a lot of
That's
times,
important.
exactly like you said, the scale don't. Yeah, your body fat went down 6%, but your muscle mass went up 7%.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, all them levels, because you don't see if when that magic number, what you're looking for, it takes a while for that all to balance out, especially if it's somebody who was very sedentary to begin with.
Yeah. Because you're not looking for a magic number on the scale. Like you're like when you envision yourself in your most like ideal healthy state of physical and mental performance, you're not stating a number on the scale.
Right.
You're talking about I'm feeling good, I'm walking around, I'm being active, I have energy, I can sleep good, I'm toned, which just means more muscle, but that's what you're describing as. So you're not describing that number. So you have to identify those non-scale wins so it kind of keeps that momentum going for them along the way.
How the clothes fit, whether you're notches.
It's always
on
a
the
belt. Men
or-
and belts is so funny. They're like, I had to get a new belt. I was like, yep,
I had
there you go, man.
one client, a real big guy, and I mean, he was tall and he was heavy, and his job, he's got to dress up. He says, I knew I was going to be having to get dress pants and stuff, and I was prepared for that. He says, when you lose 80 pounds and them shirts, he says, here I am talking with these families, and it looks like somebody grabbed a hold of my neck. And he said how much money he had to spend on dress shirts
They don't realize
because
that.
of how awful it was around his neck. He was
Yeah.
like, oh, don't get me wrong. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
He's like, this is like a whole nother level to an expense.
Yeah.
For
Add it
me.
on. You gotta
That's
warn
so
them ahead of
cool,
time.
though, when
Good
clients
props.
are like,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you guys get it too,
Yeah.
where they're just like, oh, I have to buy a whole new wardrobe.
Those are
Yep.
my favorite things with clients. We talk
Exactly.
like the good problems to have. And hearing those is like,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He had me laughing so hard. He grabbed right a hold of my shirt. And he was like, look in the mirror. He's like, that's what I look like when I'm trying to console a family. And he was,
yeah,
it's
I know.
it was great.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I know last week, I think when someone had said that they didn't have to worry about what they had to pick out because they knew it was going to look good on them. Because they didn't have to worry about how it was going to fit or anything else like that.
awesome.
So
Yeah.
those little wins really keep us going.
Yeah.
A lot of times too, because it's hard to do this day in and day out all the time. And then when those wins come in, and they come in often, but they just make you feel so good. And I didn't get that when I worked in the hospital setting. I didn't get that feeling a lot. Like I could help people get better, but this is like literally they didn't know they could feel this way. They didn't want to live until now. Like when you're able to remove those constraints from them, from a physical standpoint, from like blood work standpoint, anything, like it's just so rewarding.
Yeah, one of my favorite things when clients come in, and you can tell like from consultation going forward, they're kind of timid and they're nervous, and then over the course of months, you see, their spirit, their confidence, their entire being. They're walking taller. And it's just like, that's life changing.
It is.
When you think about the individual that came in the first day versus the individual months later, that those two people walk into the same interview together.
Yeah.
Who's getting the job?
Oh, easy. And it's like our job to believe in them so much because they don't believe it and believe that that's even possible. And we know, we 100% know they
it's
can be,
possible.
it's like 3 to 6 months. It's really not that long. And you're like, you have to just believe in them so much. And we do, and we show them like their wins along the way to help them keep going because they can achieve that. So you just believe in them so much until they believe in themselves and they see it like on their blood work, they see it in the mirror, they see it in their clothes. And it's possible.
Their lifts.
Oh, and their lifts, lifting more, because that's also like, yes, they didn't maybe like the number on the scale actually maybe went up and they're also lifting like 400 pounds or they're like they are now being more mobile, or they are going to the gym more often, like any of that. So it's awesome.
The things we noticed that kept me from going the physical therapy route in a career, because I wanted to work with people that, you know, not just healthy, because a lot of people we see like, yeah, you're generally healthy, but you have a lot of work to do when we talk preventative care. But when you're working in preventative care, it's not people in their worst moments. It's people who see ahead and see their potential worst and want to correct that, are coming in, day out because they want to be here and they have the attitude to change, right? It's celebrating the wins. It's not coming back from the losses in their worst moment. And credit to people who do that, because it's hard. Like we've talked the mental toll of injury before, but I imagine like being in hospitals is the same thing. You see people there because they have a problem.
Yeah.
And that's not a happy day that you're in the hospital, right? Versus this being a preventative care, you're helping people avoid that. And so day in, day out, it's just such a better atmosphere you're putting yourself into and you can contribute to. It just makes a world of difference.
Exactly. And they feel like you're listening to them.
Right.
Like this is the first time they like I have a couch in my office. They just sit down. We just like chat and talk.
Right.
And like we're sitting there talking and listening to them. And they've gone to their doctor. They've gone everywhere to try to figure it out, but they still feel the way they feel. And a lot of times it's just basics. It's like foundational work. Okay, let's hit your protein. Let's do some resistance training, because muscle really is the key to longevity. Yeah. And instead, we don't really like, I don't know if you guys listen to Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, but like she really talks about like we don't have an obesity issue in America, we have an under-muscled issue. Yeah. And so many things can be improved upon by building muscle. And it's not to be a big bodybuilder, but muscle is more than aesthetics. It helps with like immunity. It has a lot of enzymes in there that convert T4 to T3, which is your thyroid hormone that helps with cholesterol and helps your metabolism and your energy. Like there's so much more. It protects your bones. So
I read a study about the key to longevity is muscle. It was like a 30-minute read, awesome one from a while ago. But one thing that really stuck out to me was that the amino acids that are held in muscle tissue can actually, you know, aside from prevent disease and all these other things, including cancers and all of this metabolic disease, it can actually cut your finger, can it contribute to faster healing processes in the body. Is that
I mean, if you cut your finger, you can. Interesting.
More so, it touched on the fact that if you get a cut, the more muscular you are, the amino acids in your muscle tissue will
help heal it faster.
More readily available.
Yeah,
and it's not going to be like. I mean, if you had. I don't know how they did this. Did they cut two people's fingers?
I know, that'd be an interesting study.
What do they do?
Who signed up for that?
The low muscle mass and high muscle mass, and they just do like a speed laps on the two, because it would be like watching water boil.
What I would expect is usually if they have more muscle mass, they're more insulin sensitive, because your muscle is a glucose sink. So it absorbs at least 80% of your glucose. And so if somebody's insulin resistant, so insulin comes from the beta cells in the pancreas, basically goes to the muscle, tells it to open up and allow the glucose to come in. If somebody's overweight, or if they're just not eating the best at all, having a lot of fats or a lot of carbs unnecessarily, carbs are good for you, but like unnecessarily, then your muscle's not able to absorb that glucose, and it can be stored in the liver as fat or in the abdomen. And so if they're more insulin resistant, or they're on their course to diabetes, then they're less likely to heal. So I bet it's connected with that in terms of like they're less metabolically sound and not likely to heal very well. Because if you see like a diabetic and they have a diabetic foot wound, I mean, sugar just eats your body from the inside out. So I bet it came from that in terms of like metabolic health from a more muscular standpoint. So
I'd be curious to see the benefit too of like cardiovascular efficiency when you're talking about blood flow getting to an area to heal. It's probably a more minor thing, but that goes hand in hand when we talk about blood sugar levels too, and the same thing, like the pathways of which we heal, and that's tied, right?
Nitric oxide production and endothelial lining, like all the things, it all makes an impact.
Right.
So.
Well, and I've talked to, so they did a study recently about stretching, lack of flexibility can contribute to a higher risk of a cardiovascular event. And I didn't read the study. I mean, Jordan probably will. But the connection they made was tighter tissue, what runs through the tissue, the vascular system. And if the tissue is tighter, then you're going to get less more restricted blood flow
Okay.
in a more bound up tissue than
Okay.
if you're, I guess, like can do the splits or,
Yeah.
whatever
That makes sense.
measurement you wanted to use.
Yeah.
But,
that correlates too with like, so if a male comes in, take care of men and women, and if I love taking care of men. So if a male comes in, they have erectile dysfunction. So they're thinking, what's my testosterone? What is my testosterone? It has to be low. Like I need my testosterone fixed. And that absolutely is part of the reason. But erectile dysfunction is an early sign of cardiovascular disease because in that tissue, you have the endothelial lining that's impacted by nitric oxide, which can be limited to produce because of insulin resistance, because of high cholesterol, high blood pressure. High blood pressure is the silent killer. So when we look at that, yes, I'm looking at the testosterone, but when you have an issue, there's so many things else that can correlate with why is that happening. So it's really interesting with studies like that. It's just, if you are more metabolically sound in terms of glucose, cardiovascular disease, more muscle mass, less body fat, less visceral fat, the visceral fat is the fat around the organs, you're going to feel perform at your best in every different system.
Right.
So it's really important to kind of look at everything as a full. That's why you have to look at all the different variables in blood work to sleep to what's your training schedule like, what are you eating, everything to really help somebody feel fully optimized.
You see we talked about connecting all the dots.
It's connecting all the dots,
Yeah.
so BMI,
Yeah.
do you ever use BMI?
No.
I don't either.
No.
I
The
just
look on her face was like the best.
Do we still
figured-
use that?
no, it's doctors' offices still use it because I
Unfortunately,
remember.
Every time I'm reminded I'm overweight. Every
Yeah,
single
mine
time
said I was morbidly obese, but
Yeah.
that doesn't take into account muscle mass. Now,
Right. Your percent body fat.
well, how does that regulate? I mean, not regulate. How does that correlate with the heart? I mean, so let's say 5'7" male.
Okay.
That this individual is their Goldilocks weight range for their heart, whether it's body fat or muscle mass. Does that make a difference? Because I've heard higher weight, even if it's muscle mass, can contribute to more stress on the heart. Like I'm 190. If I was like 230 full, like 10% body fat, is that still going to put more stress on my heart?
So I think I would ask two different approaches with that. I would say, how did you get to 230? Like, what did you take to get to 230?
Right.
That's going to make me think, do you have left ventricular hypertrophy, which it can lead to more of a heart failure? That's one thing. The other theory, the thought behind it is like, if somebody is, so if we're looking at big body, I mean, the big Olympia was this weekend, right? So when those people started, what was their natural organ size supposed to be like? Or they weren't naturally supposed to be that big. So the organs that they have weren't made to support something of that size, like that big of size. So is that putting more strain on their heart being that big? So yes, there definitely could be a scenario that if they're that big, that they're having more stress on their heart. Back in the day, they didn't monitor those things. They just kind of let things fly. They took whatever they wanted to. But now it's really like looking at your blood work. What's your hematocrit like? What's your blood pressure looking like? How's your kidney health looking like? So you're looking at all that. So you're trying to mitigate those effects. So I think, yes, twofold. Like, how did you gain that weight? What is that weight made of? Is it muscle? Is it fat? What is your specific risk factors? So like you with your dad passing away early of a heart attack, you have a higher risk of cardiovascular disease. So we need to make sure we're watching that a little bit more closely than anything else by doing imaging like a coronary calcium score or a CT angiogram to look at things and to really give you that risk reward ratio for you to decide. Because if you are choosing performance, say you're choosing bodybuilding or anything like that, you're choosing performance over health in that regard. So everyone has different risk reward ratio. So yes, it can impact heart health. To what degree depends on how proactive you are at mitigating that risk.
Right. So I want to go back to the bone density thing.
Okay.
And not to spend too much time on it because we've talked about it on a couple other episodes too. But the GLP-1s.
Okay.
For people who don't strength train that are taking those, I have read limited amounts of studies that say there could, and this is coming from scientists
Sure.
that are saying that there could be some major issues with bone density for women that are, and even men in their 30s having osteoporosis, not osteopenia, but full-blown osteoporosis because of the GLP-1s. Is that something that you've read too?
I guess I haven't read that specifically or see that as a direct correlation, other than if they are taking the GLP-1s and not meeting the medicine halfway. Right. So there's always a poison in the dose and the duration and the delivery. And so if somebody is just, they're banking on that drug to get them where they need to go, there's going to be side effects. It's not an easy answer. Like body composition, improving muscle mass, decreasing body fat is not an easy answer. That's why it's been so hard. Could it impact the bone mineral density? I definitely think it's plausible. I'm sure it can. I wouldn't say if you inject yourself with GLP-1 that you're going to get osteopenia or osteoporosis. There's too many other variables that play with that. Right. Same thing with like all the side effects of losing muscle mass or pancreatitis or issues with gallbladder issues. There's a lot of factors at play. And when you decide to utilize a GLP-1 or one like a GIP component with it, like a tirzepatide, you look at all the factors. And I feel bad. A lot of women and men come in and they're embarrassed that they're on these medications because there's so much of this false information out there because of the provider or whoever they're getting it from isn't giving them the whole story behind the GLP-1 or a GIP and not helping them meet the medicine halfway. It's a very important tool in the toolkit. And a lot of times for like my perimenopausal or menopausal women, we need to optimize hormones too. We can't just utilize a weight loss medication. We have to optimize the hormones as well. So in that scenario, can osteopenia or osteoporosis happen? Yes, but did that happen because they had low estrogen or they were postmenopausal and now they are not getting the estrogen they need to maintain that bone mineral density and now they're losing muscle because they're not eating? Most women are not even eating 100 grams of protein. And please, protein, like cheese and peanut butter is not protein. PSA, like that is not a protein.
That again, look
just
right
PSA.
Into your camera.
Okay. I know. I was like, PSA, like protein. If you're tracking your protein, cheese and peanut butter are not proteins. They're not. Like, don't even count them. Like, if we are on a GLP-1, if we're on like the dual GIP GLP-1, like you have to get your protein in. You have to do resistance training. Right. And I think that's something like with modern medicine too that I've kind of like pieced out a little bit was like, it's always been a quick answer. Here's the pill you take. Here's this. Like it's a quick thing that we've been accustomed to. Here's a pill. Mm-hmm. And then we're like, oh, they just want to give me a pill now. They just want to give me a pill. Well, that's the answer that most people are looking for. They just want a pill. Mm-hmm. They just want an answer. They want the easy way
easy button all day.
There's no easy button. This is not a 30-day shred. This is not like a week boot camp. It's not 75 hard. Like this is a life change. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You have to envision yourself in your marginal decade. And your marginal decade is the last 10 years of your life. What do you want to be doing at that time frame? Do you want to be traveling around? Do you want to be playing with your grandkids? Do you want to be in the garden? What do you want to be doing at that time? You're going to be losing, some studies say, up to 8 to 15% of muscle mass per decade after the age of 30 and 40, 50s if you don't optimize your health. Mm-hmm. So yeah, absolutely. I think a GLP-1 could impact bone mineral density, but what other factors are at play? Mm-hmm. I don't believe it'd be just the GLP-1 causing reduction in bone mineral density. I could be wrong. That's always a possibility. But what I've come to find out is it's anything in healthcare, anything in medicine, there's too many factors at play to say it's one certain thing. And you have to look at the person as a whole. You have to build the foundation. You have to look at potential supplementation. You have to optimize their hormones. And then you can add in some peptides and then you reach health optimization. And when I talk about health optimization, I mean building very resilient people. We all are going to get sick. We're going to have tragedies. We're going to get an accident. Like these things happen. But the people that can rebound quicker are the resilient ones that have invested in their health physically and mentally to be able to come back from those situations. Yeah. So it's so important.
So you mentioned menopause, perimenopause, postmenopause. Yeah. Mm-hmm. There is another one I really want to touch on that I don't think is talked about enough, and that's andropause.
Yeah.
So I know a gentleman who in his late 50s, he experienced a lot of, it was like a wave of depression that hit him that he didn't feel like he was enough anymore. There was a lot of crying, a lot of low thoughts, right?
Right.
And he just didn't feel like himself anymore. Like a cloud followed him, and that is a symptom of andropause, correct?
Sure. Yeah. In andropause, you're not going to find like an ICD-10 diagnosis code for andropause,
Right.
but it's a real symptom. The symptoms are real. And we know, like you had said earlier, that testosterone levels have declined over time. And why does that happen? There's a lot of different factors at play. Again, we're in a society where we can literally just go on our phone and order food. We can order a movie. We can order a ride. We can do so much. We literally don't have to get up on the couch all day if we don't want to. Right. And so we become a little more sedentary. Things in the environment, things like that, have lower testosterone levels. So that's a contributing factor as well. And then as we age, it starts to come down too. And then what also impacts testosterone levels is your metabolic health, like we've been talking about too. The higher body fat. In the body fat itself, the adipose tissue, there's aromatase. It's an enzyme that converts testosterone to estrogen. So you're going to have potentially higher estrogen levels, lower testosterone. You have a ton of stress in your life. That stress, and our body can't really differentiate stress. So it's like if we have stress at work, at home, then we're going to the gym, and then we're jumping into the cold plunge, we're doing all this other stuff. We have a lot of cortisol that's elevated that can reduce the communication from the brain to the pituitary gland to the testes and stuff like that. So there's a lot at play that lowers testosterone. And I love taking care of men so much because their life can change tremendously if you optimize testosterone. Whether it's from natural optimization standpoint to full TRT, like the whole spectrum. And it's not that we're looking for a higher testosterone level. We're looking for that highly androgenic male to be in his full masculine energy, to help their female that's in their lives be in their feminine energy. And they feel like they can perform at their best. I mean, testosterone makes effort feel good. And however you want to optimize that. And really within like 3 months, like, man, they'll walk through the doors, their shoulders are back. They're like, I am more present at home with my family. I am being attentive at work. Like one of the most side effects I see with testosterone optimization is literally like I'm making more money because they are more attentive. They're like awake. They feel good about themselves. They feel happy about their body, and they can like perform at their best all day long. Their libido's back, erection qualities are back, their wives are happy. And it's just, if you impact the man in the household, the whole household is impacted, from the wife to the kids to the family. It's literally generational health happening when you can optimize testosterone. And it needs to be talked about more. Every male needs their testosterone checked. It's the most important marker a male can check is their testosterone, their total and their free testosterone. And unfortunately, when they go to the family doctor and they do get testosterone checked, it needs to be less than about 300 nanogram per deciliter on 2 separate occurrences to be considered low testosterone. And
do they help with optimizing naturally? Like, this is what you need to eat. You need to sleep better. You know.
At the doctor's office, no, yeah, and that's a big part of it. One of the easiest ways to optimize testosterone naturally is to lose body fat. The problem is like where it comes into play of like when I'll see like when a male's like, do I start on testosterone? Like, what do I do? I was like, is your symptoms impacting your life, your relationship, your work? Is it impacting your relationship with your kids? Are you coming home just flopping on the couch and not wanting to play with them anymore? If it's impacting you that much, we can buy about 3 months if you really want to. If you don't want to start yet, that's totally okay. Let's figure it out. But it might be time to start on testosterone. And we want to think of testosterone as a lifelong therapy. You can come off testosterone. There are ways to come off of that. I wouldn't recommend coming off of it cold turkey, but people do that. But really, it's just like taking another supplement at the end of the day that testosterone is. And even before doing TRT, there is a lot of ways to optimize your testosterone naturally. You really want to find out why that testosterone is low. So a lot of times at the doctor's office, they don't check the gonadotropins like the LH and the FSH. If you have high gonadotropins, that can mean that there's a static in the communication from the brain to the testes. Maybe there's a varicocele. Maybe there was testicular torsion. Maybe there's injury.
Concussion, you mentioned
Well, with the concussion, what I'll see is when I take care of a lot of my military or a lot of my professional athletes, they've had concussions. And so if you have head injury, PTSD, overwhelmed with anxiety, a lot of times I'll see low LH and FSH. So the pituitary gland is not sending that signal appropriately. There are some ways that we can try to increase that signal a little bit, but nothing like is equivalent to testosterone. Things like enclomiphene or Clomid you could potentially utilize for a short period of time, but those items block your estrogen receptors. And some of the benefits of testosterone is the estrogen, because testosterone converts to estrogen. And that's the benefit they need for their brain. And estrogen protects their brain, their heart, and their bones. And actually, low estrogen can lead to low libido and low erection quality. So when it comes to andropause, I mean, it can happen. We think like if you heard the word andropause, you're thinking 50s. Right. I take care of so many men, 30s, 40s, they're low testosterone. Like, and they are struggling, like want to crawl in a hole struggling. And like 5 to 6 weeks later, like it's really that soon. Some people it's longer, but other people it's so much sooner. They're like, I didn't want to crawl in a hole today. Like, thank you for not making me take SSRIs. Right. So if any male, any woman is thinking, I'm just getting old, and they're going to the doctor and they're being handed medication and SSRIs, antidepressants, look a little deeper at stuff. Those medications are needed. There are great tools that are needed for a short period of time, but there's a lot more at play. And the 30s and 40s and 50s are critical decades of women and men's lives. And a lot of divorces happen in the 40s and 50s, and the women, about 70% of women initiate those divorces. And it can be from the male just kind of dropping that testosterone and the female kind of going through perimenopause. It's a very difficult time. They're taking care of their parents, they're taking care of their kids.
And that in that time frame, you see a lot of, people, your families, your elders start passing away.
Yeah, and you're like, ooh,
your friends,
what's happening?
Like more of those, and it's just
or so and so is looking really old. You want to look young as long as you can and die young as late as possible. As I love to say. But it's so important. It's so important, and it's not like, I think it's not super difficult to do anymore after I've done it so many times. But it's really putting a couple things in place, talking with the pros and the cons, and like weeding through the myths, like testosterone doesn't cause prostate cancer. It's not going to worsen cardiovascular disease. Yes, you can get some increase in hematocrit, but there's ways to mitigate all of that. The poisons in the dose, the duration, and the delivery. And when you discuss everything and you track the lab work and see how things are going, I mean, the risk is minimal. And like the reward is intense.
Right.
Intense. Like,
so I'm just thinking like you've came a long way from the woman that walked in, didn't know what she was doing, working in healthcare as a nurse, and then, going from that, I'm just going to go on the treadmill to where you're at, helping people optimize their health.
Yeah.
In different ways than because it's what we do is very similar.
Yeah.
And,
everything's complementary. You have to have a team.
Improving people's health, right? So that's just, quite the transformation. And I always think relate, don't compare. And, my journey started with substance abuse and came into fitness, and I feel better than I did when I was 32 now.
Oh, yeah.
So
100%.
That's the message I want to communicate to everybody today. Wherever you're at, start today. Doesn't have to be deadlifting 315 pounds. Doesn't have to be hitting the 100-pound dumbbells on bench press. Literally just walk in, make a choice, make a change, start today.
Totally agree.
We're gonna have to have you on again. But thank you for coming on.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah.
As always, for co-hosting. Thank you for tuning in, for subscribing, for liking, and for supporting what we do. Have a wonderful day.